Good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 6 of 30 anchors in 30 days. Now, the goal of this training is pretty simple. It's to give you a platform for you to use your faith to bring transformation to the 11 most important life domains. Now, these 11 life domains are grouped into 3 life relationship groups. You want to find out more about that on Instagram, just click on my bio. You find the 3 life relationship groups, which you can click on. Anywhere else, you find a link right under this video leading you to that. So let's go straight into today's conversation. Today we're going to be dealing with the third foundational truth for your second life domain. And the third foundational truth for today is this: the practice of rest is for both faith and body care. I repeat, the practice of rest is for both faith and body care. And now the text of scripture I want us to come around is in Psalm 127 verse 1 and 2. It says, unless the builders build in vain. It says, unless the Lord builds a house, the builders build in vain. Unless the Lord watches a city, the watchmen watch in vain. It is in vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he gives his beloved sleep. I'm going to read that verse 2 again. It is in vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for he gives his beloved sleep. Now, sleep here is meant to represent what I call the practice of rest. And what we're saying here is this: the practice of rest is actually an expression of faith, and at the same time, the practice is also an expression of body care. But really, what does it mean as a practice of faith? For us to understand that, we're going to take a quick journey right from the beginning of all things. So we know from the beginning, God made the whole earth in 6 days, and on the 7th day, he rested, and he introduced rest for man. But before he actually got to introducing the 7-day rest cycle, he actually introduced the daily rest cycle, whereby you work in the morning, and at night time, everybody goes to bed. And as things were progressing, by the time we get into the release of the people of Israel from Egypt, he starts to explain to them why he introduced that rest cycle, why it was important in their faith. And that was when he started giving them manna. So God gave them manna, and he says the manna he gives you is to last every day. But he now says on the 6th day, the manna that you pick up is going to last you for both the 6th and the 7th day. And what he was telling the people of Israel is that, look, I want you to learn to trust me. Trust me that whatever it is that you gather on the day of work is going to last you during the season of rest, when you don't have to do anything. And then by the time it goes further down, he now introduced even the 7th year rest cycle. And what he was telling them was that, look, whatever you harvest in the 6th year is going to last you for both the 6th year and the 7th year, up until the time when you get into the harvest, or in the 8th year. And that is what differentiates Christian rest for you. When you decide to introduce rest in your daily rhythm, what you're effectively saying is that, look, not only are you caring for your body, but you are expressing your faith in God's ability to multiply whatever you did during the season of work to last you during the season of rest. In addition to that, you're also saying that, look, it is not of your labor that you are going to get multiplication. What you're saying is that it is God that actually multiplies, and which is the reason why you've decided to take rest. I know for a number of us, taking rest has become something that is pretty difficult, and the reason is obvious. You hear a lot of proponents telling you that, look, you've got to work, and in terms of working, they would list all the achievements which the work cycle has brought. Now, I'm going to tell you, be very, very careful when you take your examples from non-Christians. I'm going to repeat that again. Be very, very careful to take your examples from non-Christians, because don't be surprised. God would actually allow non-believers who decide not to rest to actually excel. Why? Because they need to eat the bread of sorrow. Not that they need to eat the bread of sorrow, because they are basically eating the bread of sorrow. And what is the bread of sorrow? The bread of sorrow is practically the vanity that comes from excessive toil. The bread of sorrow is the additional value that you lose in life simply because you devote yourself to not taking rest and working. The bread of sorrow is the loss of deep relationships that you lose, is the loss of family that people throw away simply because they refuse to give themselves a rest cycle that allows them to take in some of the things that God has given to them outside of work. Yes, work was one of the 4 principles that God established in the Garden of Eden. You had family, you had work, you had rest, you had relationship. Those are some of the things that God established. But you have to realize work is not the only thing that God established in the Garden of Eden. Now, I'm going to use an example from the Bible, just to sort of for a combination of examples from the Bible and history, to make you understand why sometimes God can even allow non-believers who decide not to give rest to actually excel for a bigger purpose. And the people I'm going to use is going to be the Roman Empire. Now, the Roman Empire, they basically expanded the cover of their reach across the known world at that particular point in time. They built loads of empires. They spread the use of the Greek language across the whole empire. Not only that, they also built a lot of network of roads to connect most of the cities that they had captured. Now, one thing I will tell you that the coming of Jesus was not, in terms of the timing of the coming of Jesus, was well planned by God, because God made sure Jesus Christ did not come until the height of the Roman Empire. And what was the effect? By the time Christianity was being spread across the known world which you had at that point in time, because Greek was already a common language across the whole Roman Empire, it made it very easy wherever the apostles got to and they needed to preach. All you had to do was just speak Greek. And everybody else would understand you. Pretty simple. And because of the network of roads which had already been created across the Roman Empire, it made it easy for them to navigate. So, for example, they go here to preach in Thessalonica, things are not going well. They just use the existing road network, move to the next city, they preach, and it goes on and on and on. Meaning that the Roman Empire, not giving themselves rest, trying to expand their reach, what they were doing was they were creating a platform for the expansion of Christianity by the time God decided to bring in Jesus into the timing of all things. So for me, when we have situations whereby unbelievers decide they're not going to give themselves rest, they're going to do this and this, they're only going to, for example, sleep 4 hours in a day, they're going to work 7 days a week too, every day of the year, whatever. For me, it doesn't bother me a little, because I just tell myself that, look, don't worry, probably they are eating the bread of sorrow. And whatever it is they're doing, God probably has an overarching master plan. But for us as Christians, the difference in the kind of life that God wants us to live is this. He wants us to live a life whereby we give rest to our bodies, and at the same time, we constantly show our trust in Him by giving rest to our body. I want you to, like we started on the first foundation practice, for the first foundational truth for this particular life domain. We said that, look, the care for your body is a spiritual act of worship. And one of the spiritual expressions of that worship act is taking rest. Rest is an extension of your faith. What you are basically telling God, what you're communicating by taking rest, is that you're saying that it is not of your effort, it is not of so much activity that you're going to be multiplied, but it is by God's ability to bless whatever it is that you do. And so what I want you to take from today is this. You're going to incorporate the practice of rest into your daily life cycle. Not only your daily life cycle, introduce the practice of rest for your weekly rhythm. Have yourself a Sabbath. I remember I was having a conversation with a group of guys, and I was trying to tell them about the importance of taking Sabbath. Busy people, executives, etc. And you should have seen the shock and surprise from every one of them. It was like, rest. So I had to tell them, I said, look, guys, I'm not taking you to jump over the mountain. You just need to start taking small steps. So, for example, you may decide you cannot take a full day Sabbath at this stage. But what you can decide to do is you can say, okay, for the first 6 hours probably on Saturday, you are not going to do anything that has to do with work. You're not going to have to do with anything that has to do with outside of yourself. You're just going to focus on getting rest for yourself. I said it could be just half day. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a full day. The whole idea is that you grow into it. As you grow into it, as you experience different seasons of life, you might be able to expand the length of time that you decide to take rest. But you have to realize you're not doing it simply as just a physical practice that, oh, yes, because you want to give your body rest. No, you are also doing it because it is an expression of your faith and trust in God, that God is able to multiply whatever it is you do during the period of activity. And with that, we come to the end of today's foundational truth. I repeat, today's foundational truth once again is this: the practice of rest is both for faith and body care. And now, if you want to find out more about the 11 life domains, which we are talking about, grouped into 3 life relationship groups, on Instagram, you can just click on the link which you see, the 3 life relationship groups. Anywhere else, you find the link right under this video. And I pray for you as you go about this weekend. I pray that this weekend will be a time of rest for you, that you'll be able to find refreshment and restoration to your soul, that you'll be able to get the peace that passes all understanding in a new dimension for you during this weekend. Thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. It's same time, 7 a.m. West African time, Western European time. Have yourself a wonderful Saturday.